Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, or welcome back to another round of Basis Picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now, I apologize that the picks are out so late. Things happened. I was away a lot of yesterday, then I had to do a lot of editing on the interview that you guys saw with Lucas Rohrig. If you haven't watched that video, please go and watch it now. It's a really good interview and I'm looking forward to seeing the pro debut on the 14th. However, we do have Bloodline tonight. And no, we're not talking about the WWE Survivor Series Bloodline, but that will be on the agenda later on this evening. But this is Sonny Edwards versus Galal Yafai. Yeah, look, I'm gonna get into it. The card is actually already started, so I'm gonna be just talking about the fights on the main portion. There's no other cards on this weekend that I'm aware of, so it's going to be a pretty short video. But with that being said, thank you for watching. Let's get into the picks. Okay, so the first fight on the card is Hamza Udin versus Ben Norman. Ben, I think, is 7 wins, 5 defeats. Hamza Udin is 2-0. So look, this is another bring along fight for Hamza. I've not seen Ben Norman, no idea kind of what he does bring, but I do know that Udin has got very fast blistering speed. I know he's one of Danny Glover's favorite boxers at the moment, so shout out to Danny Glover if he's watching. I'm sure he's in the arena right now getting ready to observe that one. You may not have even seen that fight, may have already happened by the time you see this, but basically I'm going to assume that Hamza Udin is going to come back with another victory. I'm going to predict points just because Norman, I think, has only been knocked out once, and I don't think that Udin's like the biggest of punchers. He's fast, accurate, but I don't think he's the biggest, so I think this one's going to go points. The next fight on the card, I believe, is Cameron Vong and Gavin Gwynn. Now, this fight is actually a very interesting fight. Cameron Vong is 6-0 with how many KOs has he got? He's got 3 KOs, so 50% KO ratio. Gavin Gwynn is 17-3-1. Now, the benefit for Cameron Vong in this is Gavin Gwynn has only got 5 KOs in his 17 victories. He's not a big puncher. Of the 2 victories that he's lost, defeats, 2 of the 3 defeats that he's lost has been via KO. So, but he is a strong guy, he's a durable guy, but he's a guy that will kind of just stand in front of you and try and have a go. Cameron Vong is going to be moving a lot more in this. Now, Vong is I guess technically you could say he's a smaller guy kind of coming up in weight. He's been campaigning, wait, hold on a minute. No, he was at lightweight. I think he's moved. Didn't he move up to super lightweight? Now I'm trying to remember. Cameron Vong. Where was he at before? Okay, so let's just assume that he's a smaller guy naturally in terms of build, yeah? Because I haven't got time to actually check. He is going to use his boxing ability here. Now, is he going to be able to withstand the pressure of Gavin Gwynn? That's what I think the biggest issue is going to be here. He's going to be able to move, he's going to be able to evade, but when he decides to slow down, or when there is a moment when, you know, he can't keep up that same energy, does Gavin Gwynn still have enough to keep moving forward, keep marching forward, and keep trying to walk him down and wear him down in that sense? That's where I think the issue is. But I do think that Cameron has got enough pop that Gwynn's not going to just be emboldened to constantly keep coming forward, especially after the Mark Chamberlain defeat that he suffered. So looking at that, I am looking at Cameron Vong to win the fight. I'm looking at him to win the fight via a decision, with some trouble maybe towards the back of the fight, similar to the Ofori fight that he had. I do think that he's gonna, you know, it's gonna be a hard-ish fight in terms of like the pace of it, but I think the overall the talent and the quality will show through, but it's not going to be plain sailing. Then I believe the next fight on the card is Conor Walker and Lewis Ritson. I do believe that's the next fight. Now, Conor Walker is one of Birmingham's best slash worst kept secrets at this point. He's a gem to have on the cards. Every time he comes out on these cards, like, he shows up and he shows out. And I think when you sort of look at him and, you know, just the fights he's been in, like some of the people that he's actually beaten where he wasn't supposed to face, he wasn't supposed to beat them, he was just supposed to be the away fighter for someone coming on a, you know, on a Birmingham show, and he's there upsetting the apple cart. To me, in his last fight with Lewis Crocker, I think he was horribly robbed in that fight. I had him winning that fight conclusively. So if you guys know anything about the way I scored that fight, I had it 93-97 to Conor Walker, and that was with him having a point deducted and the draw round that I gave in there. So had the point not have been deducted, it would have actually been 98-93. I literally think he won almost every single round in that fight. Outside of that, I mean, even if I was generous and gave the swing round or the draw round to Crocker, then it would have been 96-93 with the point off. It was still, to me, was a very, very dominant performance. He just outworked him, out hustled him, landed the better, more telling shots for the majority of that fight, and I feel like he was severely robbed. That being said, he now gets another opportunity on another card against Lewis Ritson, whom I think is about 23-4 at the minute. 3 of his 4 losses have come via stoppage, and he lost his last 2 fights via KO. I think while this is going to be a fun fight while it lasts, Conor Walker, he's got too much work rate, too compact. His defense is very, very good. He doesn't get hit a huge amount, even though he's a pressure fighter with a high guard. Like, yes, he does get caught from time to time, but his defense is quite good, and he's tough and durable. So I think just the pressure, him coming forward constantly on to Lewis Ritson, like, Ritson's gonna tire out. He's not gonna be able to sort of sustain the early pace that he may try to set for himself. He's gonna wilt and he's gonna get taken out. That's my opinion. I think it's gonna be about the 6th or the 7th round, especially if Conor starts to employ those peekaboo hooks that he's been landing on several opponents in the past. Most notably, Cyrus Pattinson was one of the most devastating ones. So yeah, my prediction is that Conor Walker is going to, you know, show out with a stoppage victory, you know, get himself back on that winning track and back into another big fight on another Birmingham night, whenever that takes place in 2025. I believe that the chief support of the card is Kieran Conway versus Ryan Kelly. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be chief support or Conor Walker is going to be chief support, but Ryan Kelly, I think, is 19-4-1, and Kieran Conway is 21-3. Conway, another noted not big puncher. He's not big. I think he's got something like 4 KOs in those 21 fights, or those 21 victories, sorry. So this is another fight where theoretically you do expect it to go the distance. He's got six KOs. Actually, I think I remember all of them as well. He's lost 3 fights, but he's never been knocked out in those fights. So generally, technically, he's pretty sound. He uses his attributes well, quite long, quite rangy. And he's got a decent enough jab, but sometimes he will get into the inside and get into a tear up where it's not really necessary. I don't know a huge amount of Ryan Kelly. I've only seen him box once, I think. Maybe twice, and the second time's evaded me in memory as to what his record is like in terms of like who he has fought. I think I remember seeing him in the River Wilson Bent fight that he managed to win via UD. Now, he's another guy that's, you know, technically tidy. He's got more KOs on his record than Kieran Conway, but he has been knocked out in one of his defeats before. And in the defeat that he was KO'd in, it was against Hamza Shiraz, which is that's no bad thing, because ultimately Hamza Shiraz is a pretty big puncher. But I think that was also down at 154 pounds, where Hamza was, you know, kind of struggling to make the weight. So the resistance he's probably got less resistance, but again, Conway doesn't really have a huge pop, and neither does Kelly. So I do envision that fight getting the distance. With that being said though, I feel like Conway, as especially after the little Japan trip that he had and was in that little that tournament that they was doing, I feel as though he's probably got a little bit more of the world experience. I feel like he's boxed a better level of competition overall throughout his career, and I do think that's going to be what stands him in good stead in this fight. So I see him going to decision, but I do see him getting a points victory in a fairly competitive yet clear to score match. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. Now, let's go to the main event. You've got Sonny Showtime Edwards versus Galal Yafai. Sonny is 21-1 as a pro, and Galal is 8-0. So this is Galal's 9th pro fight, but he came into the pros starting, I think he started off his very first fight in a 10-rounder. I think he's been fighting 10-rounders since his pro debut. So he's been getting part of the that good amount of working from early, you know, decorated amateur standout, and you know, Olympic gold medalist, on the, you know, very sort of decorated on the GB squad. There was the little back and forth between the two. Sonny felt like he should have been given the opportunity, especially as he beat Galal in the amateurs, yet Galal was the one that was, you know, picked to go to the Olympics. Obviously they made the right decision because he ended up winning, but that's not to say that Sonny couldn't have won. So, you know, there's always been a little bit of a beef there, not even with them two as such, but with Sonny and the GB squad. So he's always had an axe to grind with anyone associated with it. That also being said, you've got Edwards versus Yafai, just the family names. Cal Yafai and Charlie Edwards were supposed to fight numerous times, and them two, you know, I think they liked each other at start, and then that like turned into a disrespect and a rivalry because they couldn't get a fight on. Gamal Yafai also got involved, so it was like, I guess, 2-on-1 between them and Charlie. Sonny kind of gets involved on the back side of that, and then obviously now that him and Galal are in the same weight class, now they're getting it on. Now Sonny has rebounded from the knockout defeat that he had against Bam Rodriguez. He faced Adrian Curio, who we know scored an upset victory over Sivanati Nonchinga, then obviously got knocked out in the rematch to lose the belt that he won the match prior. So Sonny shows good skills. The issue I think is we're going to see with this one is the big cut that he got over his brow in that Curio fight. The cut that ultimately got the fight stopped and for Sonny to win on a technical decision. That cut, there's a lot of chances that cut could end up opening up tonight, and where it's placed, there's a big possibility that cut could be opened up. Not only could it be opened up, I don't know if they will allow the fight to get stopped in the same way as the first one did. So that's one thing. Galal Yafai also has a longer reach than Sonny. I think he's got a 68-inch reach, and I think Sonny's reach is something like 61 or 62. Now, Bam's got a long reach for the flyweight, super flyweight division, but also Sonny, I think, has got a smaller than average reach, which means, so it's actually good that he's able to almost be an outside fighter at times, because he's normally doesn't have the reach to get in and out like that. But in this fight, you've got ultimately pressure fighter versus pure boxer. Usually the pressure fighter is the guy that will get the best of it. Sonny hasn't been with Grant Smith for this camp. He was started the camp by himself, so I don't know how that's going to play into things. This whole fight, the whole notion of it is baffling to me. I feel like in terms of the actual just boxing ability, Sonny is steps ahead. Plus he's got the he's got the experience. He's also done the rounds against like the best in the world. Galal isn't quite there yet, but Galal, I feel, has got work rate. He's got a dirty boxing nature to him as well, and he's got the power. That's not to say Sonny can't crack, but Sonny, if he decides to stay in range and have a trade up rather than box a move like he usually does, is that enough to get it done, especially in Birmingham, in Galal's hometown. The Yafais and their squad will be deep out for this one. Everything is kind of telling me that Sonny Edwards should win this fight, and as a fellow Capricorn, I am usually I will admit to a slight bias in them, but having this fight so early in Galal's career, there has to be a reason why they would risk it this early. I think the fight, it means more to Galal in terms of like profile, because he's about to turn 32. If he loses this fight, yeah, you can have rematches and stuff, but the world title aspirations kind of go on the back burner. Sonny's already tasted a loss, and he's naturally younger. He's about four years younger than Galal, 4 or 5 years. His voice, he can always come back and get himself into another big fight, win, lose or draw. Galal, I don't think has that same opportunity, so he kind of has to win this one. With that being said, I feel like he's gonna start fast enough in this fight to where it's not, you know, 6-0 down after the first 6 rounds, or like 5-1 or something like that. I feel like it's going to be a lot closer, probably like a 3-3 or a 4-2 in Sonny's favor. But then I do feel like Galal's going to try to take it up a notch towards the back half of the fight. He's never done the 12 rounds. This will be a 12-round fight, so the question is, can he last that pace? But with Sonny having been down and been, you know, essentially stopped before, is there a chance that that happens again? I'm not sure. I don't think Galal's going to be able to stop Sonny in this one, but I do think that he's going to be competitive enough in the first half of the fight, and then take enough in the second half of the fight in terms of the judges and the crowd, and obviously getting those big loud crowd reactions every time he does something even remotely successful, to where at the end of this I see a split decision victory, and I do see it going the way of Galal Yafai. I think by all rights Sonny should win the fight, but there's a lot going against him in this, in my mind, and that maybe is coloring me a little bit different and a little bit wrong in how I'm perceiving things. But while I do think Sonny should win the fight, and you know, it makes more sense for him to win the fight, I just feel like for the trajectory of Galal, like he almost has to. I don't think losing's an option, and I feel being in his hometown with his atmosphere probably closer to him, he does get it, and a very razor close decision, probably very controversial as well. So that's my opinion. I do think Galal's going to win via split decision. But yeah, look, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, I've got to get off and do head off and head out now. I will be back later on for the watch along, as you guys know. So yeah, don't forget to tune into that if you are still here. But again, like, subscribe and share. That's Basis Picks. Locked.